Warning: the following video contains high levels of hype and may be unsuitable for those who hate fun.
Welcome to the EXPL show, where today we're talking about the best vibes in video games. So, starting off today, we're going to be talking about the game that started it all, The Legend of Zelda on NES. Now, no video game I have ever played has a complete mastery of its vibe. You start out in this world and you know nothing. You have this completely open area for you to explore, and the only thing that the old man who gives you the sword tells you is that it's dangerous to go alone. And we know that famous line because it's been repeated about 1,000,000 times. So, the perfect vibe of this game is exploration, and that's what The Legend of Zelda is like, and that's what I want to see in Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I want to be able to go wherever I want, whenever I want, in a non-linear function and discover the world myself as a player instead of following a linear storyline. And that's what I love about the NES Legend of Zelda. There are so many areas in this game where you could finish the game completely without ever having going to. You never have to get the magic shield, you never have to get the other sword. You could just go through all the dungeons without getting any other items besides the ones that you need to complete the game and just do fine. I beat the game the first time without ever getting the magic shield, and I finished the game. I beat Ganon perfectly fine without any worries, and that's what I love about this game. That's why the vibe is so jolly, is because I as the player, or you as the player, will play the game completely differently. Of course, there are guides that tell you gotta do this and then you gotta do this, but that's not what games are about. If I wanted to follow a set specific rules, I would go out and get a job, but I'm not. So I'm stuck here playing video games and talking about them with you guys. So here we are, able to do essentially whatever we want in this fascinating world of Hyrule, and that's what I love about this game, and that's what the vibe is so great, is because they give you the option to explore whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want, and that's what makes The Legend of Zelda on the NES one of the best games in terms of the vibe of exploration. Now, switching gears a little bit, we have Dead Space on the PlayStation 3. Now, while The Legend of Zelda on the NES mastered the vibe of exploration, Dead Space on the PlayStation 3 masters the vibe of horror. In my mind, no other video game environment besides potentially the Spencer Mansion from Resident Evil rivals that of the USS Ishimura from Dead Space. It is so creepy, it is so mysterious, and you are completely alone. You don't even know if you can trust the people who are with you when you get on the ship, because they're a little shady too. And that's why Dead Space is a master of the horror vibe. It is so unsettling to go through and see these gruesome images and this totally just bloodied ship and all these dying people, and even the people who are still alive are totally out of their mind, and it's unbelievable. It is so unsettling and so scary. This was the first horror video game I played, and unfortunately I have yet to find a game besides potentially Resident Evil. There's a little bit of a internal conflict in my mind as to which is better, that is able to exceed the horror masterpiece that is Dead Space, because of the fact that the environment and the feeling you get when you're in this game is so gripping and terrifying. Not to mention the whole mystery that surrounds what happened. Where do these necromorphs come from? Why did everyone die? Where is Nicole, your girlfriend, which is the whole impetus for this journey, is to go find your girlfriend, and it's just so scary and just unbelievably just enthralling how engrossed I was in this world and how much I bought into how just utterly terrified your character must have been, and as a player, it was horrifying to see what was going on, and you have limited supplies. It masters survival horror. The number of areas where you're safe areas are so few in this game, and that's what really freaked me out. Is you get to one area and you think you're safe, and you can go probably another 2 hours without finding another save spot or another health station to allow yourself to recuperate from what's going on. And that's what survival horror is about. It's about being on edge all the time, because you don't know if you can survive the next encounter, and you don't know when the next safe area is coming from. That's why Dead Space masters the horror vibe in video games. So, we've talked about the horror, we've talked about exploration, but let's just talk about a jolly game, a game that is just fun to play, and that's what Persona 4 on the PlayStation 2 is for me. Nothing is more fun than just going out and hanging out with your friends in this game. Now, a lot of games are based on action or, adventure and, fighting, and this game has that. It has a great combat system that's turn-based and it's very JRPG-esque, but the goal of this game is not to kill everything, it's to form these social bonds with these characters, and that's why the vibe of Persona 4 works so well, is because the characters are so easy to understand and so well put together, and even if the voice acting is a little suspicious sometimes in the English version, it is so much fun to explore. It's so much fun to get to know these characters, and that's why Persona 4 totally is a master of its own vibe, in that it's just jolly and it's just fun, and it feels like you're going through high school again, and you're meeting all these new people, and you have so much freedom to explore, but you also, have a job to do, so it's kind of the perfect mix between freedom and linear storyline that gives you so much player autonomy, but at the same time is able to direct you in the direction of the way the story wants to go. And that's why Persona 4, for me, is probably one of the most jolly, fun to play, good vibes game out there. It's just so interesting to get to know these characters and to get to go on this journey and solve this mystery in this whole world that they've built, and it's just so interesting. I've never played a game, or I've played very few games where the world is so put together. Maybe The Witcher, maybe there's some other role-playing games where they have a world that's just so full of life and it seems like it can actually exist, but Persona 4 masters that vibe of existence. It feels like a real world, and that's why, in my opinion, Persona 4 is one of the greatest video games ever to be released on the PlayStation 2, and probably one of the greatest JRPGs ever released in general. So, we've talked about exploration with The Legend of Zelda, we've talked about horror and suspense with Dead Space, and we've talked about just jolly, good, fun times with Persona 4, but now let's put them all together to create the greatest video game ever made, and that is Bloodborne on the PlayStation 4. From Software is at it again. They're making masterpiece games, seems like every year now, from Dark Souls to Demon Souls to Dark Souls 2 and 3 and Bloodborne. Every year we get something new and exciting that is just raises the bar for what video games can be. Now, Bloodborne takes the kind of vague, highly gameplay-oriented storyline telling that Dark Souls does so well, and takes that kind of empty, sad, terrifying world from those games and combines it with a gothic horror and Lovecraftian element to create what I think is the greatest video game of this generation, and potentially the greatest video game of all time. Now, what Bloodborne has mastered is video game vibes. You enter this world of Yharnam. Much like The Legend of Zelda, you're told nothing. You just have to go seek some pale blood. You don't even know what that is, and just expected to branch out and explore this awe-inspiring city. The architecture is unbelievable. Whoever designed this world was not paid enough, because it is so well done. It is more interesting to explore than any video game or any entertainment, and I think ever created, to just walk around in these streets and feel like you're part of this city that's totally falling apart at the seams, and just witnessing all the destruction and the chaos caused by the, this beastly scourge that you're tasked with stopping. And what's even greater is as you explore, the story takes a total other turn. You start out and you think, okay, I'm just gonna kill these monsters and I don't know where they're coming from, but it's, I'm in trouble. But then you find out what's actually going on, and it becomes a tale of betrayal, and it's almost like, science fiction to an extent with these, great ones. And I won't spoil too much because we shoot the show in a spoiler-free zone. However, I just want to say that the story took a turn that I was totally not expecting, and the history behind this game, the history behind the lore and everything that's going on is so unbelievable that it's just a 10 out of 10, possibly the greatest game ever made. And it combines the vibe of it. You just get to explore and find out everything at your own pace. It's super tense because, death matters in this game, and that's a huge hit for me, is when death matters in video games, because you can lose all your blood echoes and all your experience up to that point, and it's just so insane what goes on in this game that it's so tense, and every moment is so gripping, and you want to find out what happens next, but you're scared to keep going because it's so dangerous and the world is so interesting. And of course, the most important part is it is a fun game to play. It is the controls are so tight. Everything is perfect. It takes everything Dark Souls does perfectly and dials it up 3 notches and makes it one of the most enthralling video games to just experience I've ever played. And that's why Bloodborne, of all the games ever created, wins the Best Video Game Vibe Award for the EXP show. Alright guys, I had a ton of fun talking about video games that I love and why they're so great and why just the vibe they give off and the worlds they exist in are so interesting. And I'm so curious to hear what you guys have to say about this, so feel free to leave a comment. You can follow me on Twitter at Maddie_Baughman, or follow the show's Twitter, and we can kind of talk about what video games you love and why you love them, because I mean, there's so many great games that I didn't get to talk about that I still think are unbelievable, but these are just some of the 4 that really stuck out to me in terms of just great worlds, great gameplay, and just great storytelling and great experience as a player. So feel free to leave a comment, tweet at me, or whatever you need to do. And if you are interested in watching more of these episodes or going back and seeing what else I've talked about, because I just love talking about video games, you can subscribe to the EXP show, and I'm happy to have you on board. So as always, have a great day and a greater game.